Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our second webinar in this year's series of Began's webinars. For those of you that joined us last week, thank you for being a part of our first event. And here we are, second week in, and I'm very excited to be coming to you today from Jurungunji country of the Yuin Nation, the Jurungunji clan of the Yuin Nation down here in Bermagui, a far cry from where I was in Yirrkala, which was a wonderful broadcast last week. So this week we have yet again three fantastic speakers, and its theme is all about connecting to country through botanic gardens. And our three speakers are coming to us from all around the country, which is even better because we're coming to you from Alice Springs at the Desert Park and also the wonderful Kings Park Botanic Gardens in WA. And I'm hassling you from here on the East Coast. So we've pretty much got a good coverage across the nation. Now, as you know, our Botanic Gardens webinars are all about what we're calling Botanic Gardens Month. And the four webinars occur every Thursday in the lead up to our main day, which is the final Sunday in May for Botanic Gardens Day. And we'll be talking to you about this as the month progresses, and we'll look at some of the events that will be taking place at your local botanic gardens around the country. Now, one thing that we mentioned last week, and this is just to kick things off, if you could give us a little bit of an idea of where you are coming to us. First of all, where you're coming to us from, which part of the country are you in? And next to your location, can you tell us what word comes to mind when I say botanic gardens? The whole idea of these webinars are to illustrate that our botanic gardens are not just a garden with wonderful displays of plants. They are scientific organisations doing priceless and valuable research for generations to come, as well as us who are here living in the present. So that's the whole essence of what we're talking about, the importance of botanic gardens. And this is why we're giving you this opportunity to meet some incredible people, horticulturists, botanists who are working, and scientists working in our botanic gardens around the country. So already we're getting some comments here. I'm in Copacabana on, hang on, I can't quite read that. I'll just open my browser a bit more. On Gurungai Wanagiri country, tuning in from Ngunnawal country in the ACT. Big welcome to Ellie Cheney. Welcome, Ellie. Stephen's joining us from Wadjuk country, and his word for Botanic Gardens is biodiversity, followed up by Mel, who also comes to mind. The first word that comes to mind is biodiversity. Annie Kaysen is joining us from North Carolina. Thank you for being with us, Annie, all the way from the other side of the world. And she says nature, natives, beauty. Phil Pettit, Gurungai, plants equals life plus education. Thank you, Phil, and welcome to the webinar. A big welcome to you from your wonderful role in the Botanic Gardens in Sydney with the community greening team. Now, as you can see, we have our three speakers today. And first up, I'm going to jump in the TARDIS, push the button, and away we go. I'm heading to Central Australia, where I was last week, in fact, at Olive Pink Botanic Gardens. I didn't get a chance to go out to the Desert Park, where I would have seen Renate Johnny. Now, Renate's joining us from the Alice Springs Desert Park, and she is going to talk to us a little bit about the work that she's doing. And I can just fill you in a little on that. Renate is a guide at the Desert Park. It's on Mparntwe Country in the, as you know, in the Northern Territory. She connects individuals to country by sharing her knowledge of the lands she grew up on and works on, educating visitors about the plants and animals that live there and their cultural uses. So I'm going to just bring Renate in now. I'll get rid of this one. And where is she? Here she is. Renate. Oh, can you hear me, Renate? Oh, that wasn't good. Here we go. She'll be back. All right. Hi, Renate. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, really well. Really, really well. Thanks. Wonderful to have you here on this special webinar tonight about connecting to country through Botanic Gardens. Can you give us a little bit of a background about how you got into what your role is, how you got on and how you got into it?
Yeah, so I'm technically a guide. So I do presentations, tours with tourists that come through the park. I began a school-based apprentice when I was 16. So that's going back almost, well, this year will be 19 years ago.
Wow.
And so, yeah, so a while, yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a while. So,
Many
yeah,
years.
so my English teacher got me, or English and geography teacher, she had approached me about an apprenticeship. So I jumped at it. And if anyone who knows me knows that I'm not a big fan of public speaking, but that's exactly what I do every single day. So, but I feel comfortable where I am. So, but if you got me in front of a school, then I probably would be full of nerves. But yeah, so I've been out here, for the last, almost 19 years.
Wow. And what about your background? How did you get connected to nature and country through your heritage?
So my family are from further north. Seagull Creek is actually where my family are from. So we spent a lot of time out on country up in the Gulf of Carpentaria, but also here at the park. I've worked with a lot of our traditional owners. The park had a lot of Aboriginal people, First Nations people that actually were quite widespread over, not just locals, but quite widespread. So from South Australia, a little bit further, so Tennant Creek areas. So yeah, that's so we're working very closely with other Aboriginal people and building that knowledge up, but especially with our traditional owners of this area so the Central Aranda area that we're on.
Now, the Botanic Gardens the Desert Park are a member of the Botanic Gardens of Begans. Yep. What makes the Desert Park a botanic garden? Can you explain to people who don't know about the Desert Park exactly what it is and how it's become part of the Botanic Garden group, let's say?
So the park is also, we are a biological park. So we basically talk about and what we have here about plants, animals, and Aboriginal culture of Central Australia. The park has 3 different habitats. We've got desert rivers, sand country, and the woodland. So 3 unique habitats of Central Australia. We have a nursery, a seed bank, and we propagate our plants. So those plants are then planted on the park in the habitats that they naturally come from. They are then tagged, GPSed, and then they go into records, so that we can record right from day dot basically to the end. Yeah.
So from the work that you're doing and the work that you have been doing at the Desert Park, how are you seeing it connect visitors to your First Nations stories around ecology, culture, and plants?
Obviously for us, plants and animals are all a part of that, and that's, the way that we do it here at the park is that, especially what I'm passionate about, is teaching people about our culture. So, with the plants, it's medicines, it's the bush foods, how to make the tools, the weapons, and connecting people that here at the park, being in amongst it, they can see that. So, being able to tour them around the park in amongst all these plants, and being able to, show them exactly what we do, and what was traditionally done and is continued by our people. So being able to showcase that here at the park, and being able to physically show them in amongst it every single day.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, every single day is such an amazing opportunity, given that people come out there, they're hungry for knowledge and information. What is it that you love most about sharing your knowledge of country with visitors?
It's the connection with people. To apart from learning from our grandmothers and our grandfathers, and with that knowledge that's handed down, what I've taught and what I've learnt, is now I can teach people. And it's not just, other First Nations people, it is people from all over Australia, all over the country. So, being able to connect to these tourists, and being able to teach what I've connected to everyone around the world.
I've got a question here from Cass. What's your favourite bush food?
So I'm a sucker for the bush banana. The local Aranda people call it alangwa. Not only does it, I grew up with it. So up in the Gulf of Carpentaria, it does grow up there as well. And it grows down here in Central Australia. So I'm lucky that one of my favourite bush foods is in the area that I live in as well. And in saying that, they are fruiting at the moment after all the rain that we had about a month ago. So I'm hanging out to see those get bigger.
Yeah. So the natural follow-up question is was what does it taste like?
Not a banana, that's for sure. So the closest thing I can compare it to is it tastes like peas. So it doesn't, the bush banana looks, it's quite, it's probably about that size. It's green, so it doesn't change from, like a normal banana where it goes green to yellow. It actually stays green. Lots of seeds on the inside there. But yeah, the closest thing I can compare it to is it's like eating sweet peas, basically. Full of moisture.
Okay. Yeah. We had another question here. Do you get many international visitors?
Yeah, so they're probably, well, now we're going into our colder months. We get a lot of our internationals in our summertime. So that'll, so that's probably about August, September, we'll start getting them, and that'll go up to about roughly around this time of the year. So yeah, most of our international, especially the groups, you'll get individual travellers. yeah, no, over our summertime, we normally get the overseas travellers.
Now, we had a question here from John. Do you interact with the gardeners and horticulturists in your role as a guide?
So I actually, I've done, well, it's changed now. So conservation and land management, I did Cert 2 and 3, which is now changed to conservation and ecosystems. So I learnt and built up quite a lot of knowledge by doing these certificates with other rangers, other First Nations rangers from all around Central Australia. So all that knowledge I built up in that, I've actually worked with our botany team here on Park. So I've done helped them out with some of their seed testings. I've done helped out with their propagations. So yes, I have, and that's actually, I like working in that department quite, yeah. So it's one of my jobs. It's not just about being a guide for me to build my knowledge up. I do work closely with other departments that we do have here at the park as well. So yes, I have worked with our botany team quite closely.
Yeah. I had a question here. Seasons within Indigenous culture are often based on plant and animal activities. Are you seeing changes in this firsthand in the garden?
Okay. Might have to repeat that question,
Okay.
Costa. Sorry.
Yeah. Seasons within your Indigenous culture are often based on plant and animal activities. Do you see changes in this firsthand in the gardens in the desert park?
Yeah. So technically, well, especially down in this area. So coming from the top part of the country, there's wet season and dry season. So technically, there's 6 seasons between those two. So here in Central Australia, there's 3. So it's hot, cold, and anytime after rain. So so we here at the park, see lots of changes, but also we try and imitate what's actually happening around the area. So at the moment, we had about 4 days of rain about a month ago, and a lot of our wildflowers started popping up around the park.
Wow.
What we do, or what our botany team do, is they normally lay out the seeds. So by the time springtime rolls around, then we'll get our wildflowers. So people can see what the wildflowers look like. But with that rain that we have had recently, our wildflowers have naturally come up as well. So yeah, but 3, obviously we've got the 4 like everyone else, but it's really out here, it's 3 seasons. So hot, cold, and anytime after rain.
That's a really valuable piece of information for people to frame your world out there, because they most people would be thinking, oh, it's just dry and it's hot, and what that impact means, that you can have rain at any point, and that sort of gives you that dramatic season that things can literally burst into life because they get this supercharge, and suddenly you've got a little mini growing season that comes purely because you got water that you may not have seen for many, many, many months.
Yes, yeah. And it's quite nice to see those things that would naturally come up, So we do, naturally we do obviously irrigate and, have that around the park. But to be able to have that rain that does come whenever, basically, and to see the changes over that period is quite nice. So it's not just those wildflowers, but there's plenty of bush foods that actually come out after that rain as well.
All right. Well, I love it because all of a sudden the questions, I can hear people thinking and they're marinating and they're starting to throw the questions, but we've got our next speakers coming. So if we can just give a couple of quick answers to these two, and then we're ready to move on to Blake and Jade. But let's just go first up. Which bird do you see most often at this time of the year? Thanks for that question, Mel.
What birds? To be honest, what we're seeing a lot of on the park grounds, I've been seeing flocks of crows. So I don't know why, but other than that, we'll probably start we've started seeing red-tailed black cockatoos around due to the rain. So if you take away from the plenty of crows, then red-tailed black cockatoos are around at the moment, and a bit more movement of the wedge-tailed eagles as well.
Stray Garden says, love a good crow. Cass wants to know.
There's been plenty of them out here.
Cass wants to join your tour. Definitely, I would endorse that as an option. And Giovanni asked, do you get any introduced weeds amongst the wildflowers? What's that side of things
yes,
like?
Unfortunately, we are at the base or at the foot of the McDonnell Ranges. So with rain and the winds that we're getting, we do get weeds coming in off the range there. But we've got a great botany team who are doing a great job at the moment removing those weeds.
Yeah, fantastic. And the final one was any threatened plants on the park?
The one that I can think of from the top of my head, and I was prepared for this one just in case, is the waddywood. So I was very much prepared for this one. But the waddywood is our threatened plant that we do have on the park in our woodlands habitat.
Now, was the waddywood in the running for the Tree of the Year a couple of years ago, if I remember rightly?
I know. That's a good question. So.
I'll have to check on that.
It's a very pretty plant at the moment. The seeds are starting to pop out on the plant. It looks very odd when you look at the seed pods coming out on the plant.
Okay, lots of black cockatoos flying over northern New South Wales lately, which indicates rains are coming. Yeah, there's been plenty of rain and there's more on the way. That's definitely for sure, Paola. And I may have missed it. Does the desert park focus on flora and fauna and culture predominantly of Central Australia?
Yes. So all our plants, all our animals and all our cultural stories are only from Central Australia.
Uh-huh. There you go. And this last one, someone sort of plant is flying through the wind looking for water. When it finds it, water opens up and flowers, and someone like plants that'll spend decades looking for water. Okay, so this one is a sort of question about plants that can spend decades blowing around, and then when it finds water, it opens up and flowers and creates more plants like that that'll spend decades looking for water. Nature is freaking amazing. Yeah, well, James Nicholson, I think you sort of answered your own question there, and Renate is in the middle of an amazing landscape. I think I speak clearly for you when I talk about the world that you inhabit on a daily basis, Renate.
Yes, no, it is quite a unique spot where we're located out here.
Well, thank you everyone for those questions for Renate. If you have any more, drop them in the comments, because Renate's with us. She'll drop in and answer anything that's outstanding, as will all of our guest speakers, and I'll have a look through there as well and throw my 2 bobs worth in if there's anything that I don't know about, but or that I can help with, I should say. Renate, thank you so much for joining us, and if you're still around at the end, I'll bring you in for the final wrap up.
No worries, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Renate.
See you later.
Bye. All right, well, time for me to jump in the TARDIS and go from the Desert Park in the Northern Territory. I'll be heading on a bearing southwest for Kings Park Botanic Garden, where we have our two next speakers. And I'm really excited to bring them in. And we're actually got a nice melange today because Jade and Blake, let me bring them in. Jade's here. Here's Jade. Hello, Jade.
Hi.
And hello.
Hello from.
How you going, Blake?
Good, thanks. How you doing?
Yeah, really good, really good. Now, just as a quick intro, everyone, Jade is a horticulture trainee on the Wadjuk Noongar lands of Kings Park and Botanic Gardens in Perth. She enjoys reconnecting with her Yamatji Nhanda heritage through her traineeship, where she's gaining valuable knowledge about plants, people, and place. And joining her in her workplace, and we're sort of making this a combo so that it's a bit more like a panel for the second half of our chat tonight. Blake is a sports turf apprentice at Kings Park. He loves being able to help maintain the grounds and has a keen interest in how all plants interconnect to provide inspiring landscapes. He has Yamatji heritage, Noongar ties, and finds being able to live and work in Noongar country and contribute in some way to the maintenance of this land is very special to so many people. So Blake and Jade, welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's lovely to have you here, and I'm just recovering from the TARDIS. It was a very quick flight from Central Australia down to you in Kings Park, and it's great to have you here. Jade, tell us a little bit about how you sort of came into wanting to head into a career pathway with the Botanic Gardens and with horticulture. What sort of crafted that interest in plants in you from your childhood?
Well, yes. Hello, everyone. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge Wadjuk Noongar people from past, present, and future. And a little bit about me. Well, yeah. How do I start? Well, after graduation, I didn't really know what I was doing.
Yeah.
Feather flowing in the wind. I got into a program with Work Power, like a seed program, and I guess that's just where it all started. Really, I started learning all the plants, like just on a basic level, and it just fell into a rabbit hole. So I stayed there for a whole year, and when I got into another traineeship with government, I kind of missed that. I kind of missed like working outdoors, working with plants, getting to know a bit more about the knowledge about it. So my previous boss, who was a career practitioner, she got me onto a website which was like Career Explorer, and answered all those questions, and it just came up with all this, like anything to do with the environment, arborists, botany, all sorts. And because I was working with jobs and skills at that time, I saw the advert for traineeship for Kings Park and got motivated and pushed to go for it. And I guess here I am now doing my second year, completing my certificate 3 now. I'm just loving it so much. So much knowledge.
That's fantastic. So 2 years in and you're hungry as ever.
Oh, big time. Can't get enough of it.
Oh, that is brilliant. And
Hi, Natalia.
yeah. Blake, tell us a little bit about how you came to find a path to where you are now in the Botanic Gardens.
Yeah, so I actually started off in a different industry. I was in a machine shop initially out of high school, and it just wasn't really for me, being in a closed environment. And then I had some family members that were in the horticultural industry. I expressed to them that I was, looking at it, and they just encouraged me to change my career path, and that's what I did. I did my Cert 2 in horticulture, and then from there got the passion for sports turf, and I was lucky enough to be given the opportunity to work here at BGPA Kings Park, and the rest is history, really. I'm enjoying the training process.
Wow. So how long has it been, like, since so Jade's given us a timeline of about a couple of years now that she's down this path. How long's it been for you since you flipped careers and came into our crazy world of horticulture and plants?
Yeah, so I'm in my 4th year of my apprenticeship now. So it's been, so if you add another year to where I am now, I guess that's 4 years in total at the moment, is starting off with the Cert 2 training process, and going from there. So around 4 years so far, and I'm hoping to stick around in it.
And what can you tell us a little bit about the trainee program at Kings Park and how you've both taken root into the program?
Yeah, the training program. Yeah, the training program here is awesome. Like it started in 1960s, so it's been around for a long time. I know the turf traineeship or apprenticeship has been a little bit less than that. I think I'm the 3rd or 4th one coming through. But other than that, it's really good how they, we do it once a week, a plant ID walkthrough with all the trainees, and it's really good to help connect back to the country,
Yeah, as Blake was saying, we got 10 trainees, including ourselves, in the program. And with Blake, he's in the turf department, and a few of us other trainees, we pop around the areas of Kings Park. So we got a few in hort displays where they're exposed to the gardens, working along, with weeding and planting and helping public members out finding their way if they're lost. We also got like bushland care, arboriculture, plant development, which is, plant breeding and tissue culture, tech hort, which is like seed collecting, storage, and the science behind it. And we also got like the nursery as well, Kings Park Nursery, and we spend a few months in each different area, being exposed to different jobs, different roles, get us a broad idea of how everything connects, and having that sort of respect for the work,
Yeah, wow. So it's kind of like you're getting a full smorgasbord of all the different areas, and does that give you then a chance to, like, not only focus your study but then focus where you're going to go within the Botanic Gardens?
Yeah, so we get like 1 day a week at TAFE doing our qualification, whether it be a horticulture certificate 2 or 3, or even a turf apprenticeship. And then the rest of the 4 days, we get exposed to this. We get an idea of what we're doing in this area, whether we like it, and sort of think like, wow, I didn't realize I was passionate for this, maybe I'll like fall into this a bit more, sort of thing, And the best part is, because it's different each different month, you spend a few months here and you go to here, you get to spend the time to go through everything. They teach you how to do this, how you would keep this alive, or how they would store this, because there's just such vast processes to how they do things. So yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. So it's sort of with that level of width and breadth. My next question was, how has your traineeship that you're involved in at the moment helped you personally connect to your culture? And is it something that you would recommend to others? How's that working for you both?
Well, as mentioned before, with all those different areas, they kind of connect in a way of just learning more about the plants. So we reconnect ourselves to country through plants, just being exposed to it. And my personal connection was I did some volunteering with the education of Kings Park with the Zippies program. So little kindies, so very cute. And the main objective for teaching is based on Aboriginal culture, whether it's Dreamtime story or learning new words or getting them to do like a small bush track in the education area, like the Rio Tinto Naturescape. Finding animals or plants that they can try pronounce in Noongar language, and there's just such, it's so good.
Yeah, it's really good to see all the educational sides of it, because me growing up, there wasn't as much of this going on, and it's great to see how much more it is around. Like, we'll be sitting around having smoko in the depot, and we can hear a didge playing, a couple 100 meters away. So it's really good, and you can smell little campfires that they're showing the kids, and couldn't be better.
Wow. John just said here, Jade, great that you fell down that rabbit hole. What a great program. Love your enthusiasm. So
Thank you, John.
Genevieve said, so great for the kids and for both of you, clearly. That sort of begs a question, like, how do you think botanic gardens connect people to culture generally? What sort of things are you seeing at Kings Park, but also in any of your other experiences?
Yeah, there's a massive exposure to local culture here. There's so many locations in the park that are named after the local names. You got Pulgala Family Area, you got Kurak Cafe, you got Kulbadi Car Park. That's just a couple examples of how they incorporate it, and there's still more that they're planning on doing, which is really good. And the signage on the plants as well. You have the scientific name, and then you have the local indigenous name to where that plant's from, which is great to see. The tourists come in and they're trying to, pronounce it and whatnot and figure it out. And it's good to see the culture being shared.
Yeah, like if you were to show our presentation, we could show demonstrations of that, because we also got signage on one of the Aboriginal bushwalks.
There we go.
What was it called again? Well, one of the little small bush walks. They show like signages of like a bit of like about what they would do. Sorry, like for example here, like they show a little bit about like the history or a bit about the plants. You got some that like show a bit of like the Noongar seasons and tells you a bit like what would be like flowering at this sort of time. We actually promote a lot of Aboriginal culture into Kings Park to educate all public members, and well, just anyone international or whatnot, kids, even ourselves. Sometimes we're in the gardens, we're doing some weeding, and we got the sign next to us, and we just look over like, didn't know that. I pretty much do it all the time, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's also good. We've been exposed to some cultural awareness training programs and that, where they've, taught us even more about what some plants do. How the Indigenous people used to use it in their everyday life. Whether it be to create a spear or to, just something to eat, a tea or something. And it's really good to be exposed to that, because if it's exposed to us, it can be there for other people to learn as well.
Yeah, exactly. And how important do you see like that education side in terms of the signage, and what sort of uptake do you see people engaging with? Like, do you turn around and see people like really taking it in, and do you get approached while you're there at work? What sort of interaction do you have with the public?
Well, we have quite a lot of interaction with the public, and I do see like quite a few people, especially like near the boab tree, having a really good read on like the whole travel it's been through from up north, how many days it came all the way to Kings Park, with the smoking ceremony for it. And it even mentions like how old it is. I've even had a few people come up to me and asking like how old the boab tree is, and I'm like, well, let's have a look at the sign, because even then I generally didn't know at the time, and was surprised myself, like, whoa, like 750 years old, like I didn't realize I could live that long. Others like pretty much helping, like someone's asking where's boab tree, where's the treetop walk, sort of thing. Or they just come and generally have a chat, just like with what they've seen, just telling us all about it really on their point of view.
Yeah, there's a lot of interest around it, that's for sure.
And then that starts a conversation and creates that. I suppose what it's doing is creating that cultural timeline to make people realise that so much of the science that they've learnt is so limited and so short on the real scale of things, and you're suddenly in a frontline position to be able to generate interaction with these stories.
Yeah, definitely. We get it quite often, or they'll just come up, say hello. All they start is like, where's this location? And then that's when the stories comes out, they'll tell us like a little bit about this Baronia bed, or like, oh, just seen the Banksia bed, or it's looking so lovely with all those birds. I like to see it through their point of view, as like newly coming in or haven't even been to Kings Park for like years and years, and seen what's changed and whatnot. It's wonderful.
Yeah, what's that feel like, Blake, when you see people like have their breath taken away by not only the visual and the connection with the plants, but then to see the stories behind them?
Yeah, it's good to hear when people are learning about that. Yeah, and it's also good for me to see the changings of the seasons, because like I say, I haven't been outdoors my whole life, my whole working life. So I'm starting to get to know the changes in the seasons and all the rest of it, as well as I see other people learning that too. And like Jade was saying, they always come up and have a discussion about it. Sometimes I get stopped 5, 6, 7 times a day, in a day, of people asking me about what's going on. And it's good to see, like what Renate was saying about the animal, like the wildlife, and how that complements and helps out the botanic gardens to stay alive. That's just another thing of, I see people coming up with it. Yeah, because we got the reptiles, we got birds, we get those we get is it the red-tail black cockatoos that Renate was talking about as well? Yeah, they come around, and it's amazing to see. Yeah.
Yeah, Giovanni was just asking that exact thing. Is there any other wildlife in the park that you're interacting with?
Well,
At certain times for me of the year, when the blue tongues come out, it's I'm dodging them left, right, and centre when I'm on the mower. But yeah, it's a lot of bird life we see around here, and obviously the insects and all the rest of it. Yeah, that's mostly what I see. Yeah.
Yeah, there's quite a lot around the park. You know, I've seen the average frog-mouthed owls, get a few magpies. They're quite friendly and come up and try to give you puppy eyes, sort of thing. Got
Puppy eyes, I love it.
Yeah, we got a snake, a friendly snake that hangs around. I've called him Sammy the Snake, pretty much. We get quite vast. It's just just taking that moment to yourself to actually breathe out, relax, and just try hearing what's not silent, because you quite hear quite a lot, you know, seeing every little critter run past, you know, trying to hide. A lot of like white-tailed cockatoos and a few red-tails.
Got some bandicoots.
Yeah, bandicoots. I've seen the average one or two here and there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite like active at Kings Park.
Now, I was going to say, if you can flip me through the slides a little, we've got a couple of questions here. The lawns at Kings Park are awesome.
Thank
Blake, what's your best turf tip? Yeah, there it is. Look at him. Oh, in front of his big toy there. All right, here we go, Blake. What's your best turf tip for us home gardeners?
Right, my best turf tip. First of all, have a good healthy soil profile, and watch what your turf is doing. You know, if it's being discolored, or if it looks like there's a disease, or you know, whatever the case may be, just keep an eye on it and monitor it. And like I say, keep a very healthy soil profile, and don't be scared to do some renovations if your lawn isn't giving you the results that you want. Give it, you know, a bit of a reno, and don't be scared to tear it up a bit, depending on what grass you got, and you'll be thanking yourself for it.
Carol Marshall is frothing. That's a mower.
Yeah, that's good. That's a nice real mower we got.
Look at that. You could play croquet on that lawn, and I know those lawns. I've sat on them, and they're more comfortable than carpet. That's for sure. You do it. You and the team do an amazing job.
Thank you very much
for sure. Richard Ackland asked, do you do any nocturnal walks in the park? Is there any activity after dark?
For us, we personally don't stay back to do the nocturnal stuff, but I know there's bush cams and all the rest of it that our bushland area is watching. So I'm sure they're keeping a good track on what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah, as Blake was saying, I don't think we do nocturnal tours, but we do have a lot of like regular like cameras, or a lot of reporting systems from science team. You know, because they're always monitoring the gardens, because you've got different groups in the science. Some are monitoring the trees, like whether they're monitoring intake of nutrients, water, or photosynthesis, and some like what sort of critters are out there that are hanging around the gardens, you know, what's quite active. But we do have quite a lot of tours, whether they're Aboriginal related or even just a nice walk through and someone's talking about the plants. We get those throughout the day. They're quite available.
Yep. Now, is there any, do you want to roll through those slides and just throw any comments up since you've got them there?
Yeah, I've been just like chopping back and forth a bit, guys, so sorry about that. So this one here, we are doing one of our favorite plant ID sessions. The first picture, we're looking at our usual grass tree. What was the name for that?
Xantheria presii.
Yes.
If I'm right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you are. And then in the one on the right behind Blake is a Eucalyptus presiana, standing quite so tall, and behind me is a Physosis chrysophylla, which comes from the Shark Bay region, which is quite a restricted distribution, but it is a very tough plant. It loves like dry soils and drought. It can withstand pretty much anything from, it's a strong plant.
Yeah, and that's quite appropriate, that plant, because that's where Jade's and myself's families are from, is from the Shark Bay, Geraldton region, the Yamatji people.
Yeah. And then obviously you got lovely Blake on the good mower, making them perfect turfs. You know, you probably see me every now and then on my brakes laying on it.
So there was while you're on the turf there, just before you move on, Jade, question there from Annie. Do you do patterns in the turf?
It's up to whoever's mowing, but yeah, most of the areas we try and make some nice laser beam lines. Otherwise, it's just sort of what we feel, because sometimes you got to change direction. But yeah, there's no set protocol on the patterns on the grass. We just try to keep it nice and uniform, whichever way it goes.
Nice.
So nice. And then obviously you see good old me in a few photos. So the two on the left, that is me in the nursery. What I'm doing there is I am trying to cut a tiny little slit in the seed, because some seeds, they need that requirement, because the coating is so hard that not even the seed can just pop out of it. So we try to, give it that little cut so it's exposed in the sand and the water. It gets those little nutrients, and it will like activate, and pop out of the soil. So we're just giving that little help. The photo on the top right, so that's me and one of the coordinators. We are in planting season near the wishing well there, planting in some new kangaroo paws and some little bits and bobs there. And down below is pretty much me. We're keeping. Thanks, Dad.
I had to throw that one in.
So that is me doing hygiene protocols to make sure we're spraying down with Phyto Clean on the tractor as we used into soil, so we do not spread any Phytophthora or any of that nasty stuff with any nursery sands in the future. So that's me. And obviously our greatest boab tree, 750 years old. So this is the signage here that a lot of like public citizens come in and have a look and do the acknowledge nod.
And the boab tree was actually transplanted in 2008, and it came from Warnham, which is around the Turkey Creek area, I believe. And that's another thing I can relate to. A family that has also come from up there in the Gidja tribe. So it's another nice thing to have in the park.
Yeah, and we managed to take a photo while it still has its leaves on. And we get a lot of questions about the boab tree, like why doesn't it have leaves? Like when they come in the winter time, like is it dead? And a lot of times it's what's the word?
Deciduous.
Deciduous, thank you, Blake. It's a deciduous plant in Perth regions, because up north it loves the heat, it loves the warmth sort of thing. So the only times you get to see it with leaves is around like pretty much January to February-ish, while it's still nice and warm, and then it goes back into a dormant stage where it's technically asleep. So
yeah, I don't think it's tropical enough.
No, definitely not. Yeah. Too wet for it as well. And then me again. Oh goodness. So we're near a few more signages that shows the riverside, and it has quite a few history about the early Europeans popping in. I remember being on a tour with one of the Aboriginal fellas. They were saying that when settlers were here, they saw Aboriginal with like digging up for a few seeds, sort of thing, like red seeds, and they thought they would could eat it, sort of thing, just instantly. But turns out, Aboriginal fellas, they dig it up from the ground because it like takes off the poisonous coating. I think that's from the Xanthorrhea plant, I'm pretty sure. So, and settlers didn't know that, so all of them pretty much got sick from the seed. So it was a lovely, interesting history about this little spot here near the cliffs. More me. Looking at the 6 seasons, so that demonstrates, like, it will show a bit, like, listing a bit of animals and few plants that will be flowering in that time of the year. On the right is an example of one of the signs in front of the plant, so Hakea rumbles, which is in Noongar language, Walukara. And that one's an interesting plant because the seeds, they're like shaped as a rhombus, hence the name rhombals. So that one's located more in the Pilbara and desert areas. So that one's a nice, beautiful plant that will be flowering around these few months. And that's it, actually. So
yeah, well,
enjoy
actually,
the presentation.
while you're talking about specific plants, I'll just bring you both back on screen.
Thank you.
While we're at it, here we go. And we'll get rid of that. Here we go. We're all back live. Barry asked a little while back, but I didn't get a chance to ask it earlier. But here we go,
Sorry.
Barry. Hi, Blake. I also studied sports turf a while ago now. Are Kings Park looking into any potential new grass species from a climate change, water, sustainability perspective in the future? Is anything going on there?
So for the most part, in our high-profile areas, we have kikuyu. So we're going to, we mostly stay with that, but there's a few shaded areas where it doesn't grow. So in the high-profile parts, we tend to seed with ryegrass, with a perennial ryegrass. But there is other areas that are a bit more hidden where we do sort of experiment with different grass types. One of the areas is in the wildflower pavilion, and even the ryegrass seed wasn't, or the ryegrass wasn't growing there. So we actually brought in some Durban grass, which is from, it's an African type grass as well. And it's a warm season grass, but it's very shade tolerant. So it's worked exceptionally well in this area. We do experiment with different grass types, but for the most part in our high profile areas, it's just kikuyu and ryegrass.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for answering that question. And I thought we'll wrap up with one last question for you both, and then I'll bring Renate back and just do a kind of team wrap on our theme that you've shared so willingly with us tonight. So do you have a favourite WA plant or a particular group or family of WA plants that you're up to? What's your leaning?
Honestly, I can't pick one. I just, every plant to me has either a special memory of mine, or everything has a unique characteristic or that makes it special. Like, for example, like Casuarina obesa, which is a type of she oak. That's one of my favorites. It's from memory because that's one of the first plants I started to learn more about at Work Power. Or like Eucalyptus pyriformis, the pear-fruited mallee. That was like the first plant on our plant ID that we went through on Kings Park on one of our first weeks. I'm obsessed with eucalyptus fruits, or even a few bush tucker plants like Podocarpus alatus, the plum pine. That's near Pulgala area. I tasted that for the first time and I was just like, what in tarnation, because it tastes like slightly of plum, but like a lily pilly, but it'll make your tongue go numb, sort of thing, like a little, like static in your mouth. It's a weird experience. So I like every plant that has just a unique characteristic to it.
Oh, I like every plant. That's all I need to hear. That's great. What have you got to add there, Blake?
Yeah, for myself, it's a bit boring, but So the Poaceae family is what I'm going to say, because that's just the grass family, and the Pennisetum clandestinum, which is the kikuyu. I feel like it's very diverse. It can be cut quite tall and still look good, and it can be cut very short and still look good. But I'm also a big fan of the eucalyptus plants and trees, and I do like banksias as well. So I like a lot of natives is what I like, and the scented ones. I like the scented ones.
Anyway, I'll just give you a little bit more time, and you go, and I like the banksias, and I like this, and I like what a beautiful dilemma to have. That, you're learning about more and more plants, and the more you learn about them, the more you want to learn about them.
Yes.
Wow, it's been fantastic. Well, I want to bring Renate in. Jade and Blake, it's been a real treat to have you here, and people are putting up their favourite plants. Who doesn't love a eucalyptus? And WA has so many species. I love grasses, very undervalued, but beautiful, waving in the breeze. Everyone's jumping in at the moment and and sharing their favourite. Barry said, great to see the enthusiasm towards country from all speakers. Thank you for your incredible and invaluable contribution. Great webinar, everyone. Well done. So I think that's how I want to bring Renate in. Renate, thank you for hanging out there at the park in the pitch dark. It's
no, I've got betong. I've got some betongs hanging around, and some bandicoots. So I've got some friends hanging out.
They're wanting to join in the webinar. So I thought I'd just finish with one, final question for you, for each of you, just to have a general chat about what is it looking forward. What is it, and currently, what is it that you think, or how do you think Botanic Gardens are best suited for connecting people to culture and country generally?
Well, the best suited way for connecting country to culture and to people, of course, is just a lot of education. Never been afraid to ask questions, and just especially in Kings Park, a lot of exploring. There's a sign out there, definitely go have a read, or if you got like little ones, or some kids at school, like the education of Kings Park, they're really good. They incorporate a lot of like Aboriginal culture activities and stories and learning experiences.
It's all about getting out there as well. Get out and have a look, have a touch, have a feel, and enjoy it from there.
We embrace all education here. We're very we have a lot of pride with our cultural knowledge here, for everyone to experience.
And Renate, final word.
For us here, for us to be able to connect to it, everything comes together. The plants, the animals, we connect to country. Without the plants and the habitats that we have out here, then there wouldn't be us at all. So for us, it's all about connection to the plants and the culture of the places that we come from.
What a perfect note to finish, Renate, and a treat to come the full circle. We started at the Desert Park, we travelled down to Kings Park, and now you've brought it back home for us, Renate. Jade and Blake, thank you both so much. Big thanks to the three of you. Now,
thank you.
You may remember I said at the beginning, what words do you think of when I say the word Botanic Gardens? Now, after our speakers tonight, can you say I ask the question again, what word immediately comes to mind when you think of the word Botanic Gardens? If you can throw that in to the chat. If you're watching a replay of this webinar, feel free to throw it in the chat, because I know that the Begans team are looking at this, and across the 4 webinars, we want to put together all these words and make like one of those word pyramids, and just see how it's changed through the course of these conversations, and what our guest speakers have shared with us. Next week, I will just bring up this slide. Next week, we have our next conversation, and oops, hang on a sec. I've just next week we have our next conversation, which I don't know what's on our next conversation. So that slide didn't quite give me the inspiration I needed to answer that question that I set myself up to give you. So I might have to call on Rebecca and see if she can throw a comment in the private chat to give me the topic for next week. But either way, you know that we will be here, so don't forget to join in. Let's see if anyone's put their comments into the chat about. Hang on, I've just got to. Here we go. What have we got? Botanic Gardens. Here we go. Lots of people putting them in now. Future. Thanks, Rebecca, Jane, Blake. Our future is in great hands with you. Stephen McKnight, education, connection. Thanks, Tex. Botanic Gardens, Australia. Botanic Gardens, conservation. Thank you from Holly. Conservation beyond the gate. That's a nice one. Thanks, Cass. Always a treat to gain education shared. Thank you, Karen. So interesting. Thank you for your valuable time. People and plants. That's from Cherie Parker. Go, Jade. Doing the best. Good on you, Jade. We've got some happy followers there. While we're at it, I'd like to thank the production team from Begans, Ellen Cheney, Pippa Lucas, James Roach, Rebecca Harcourt, and John Arnott. And thanks also to Diane Winkworth and Amanda Shade for contributing to tonight's webinar. Oops, I've just lost my screen. Sometimes on a laptop, I sometimes struggle with swiping right and swiping left and so on and so forth. Here we go. I'm back live. That's all good. And Rebecca has come through, I believe. There are 4 slides. Oh, I see. There's 4 slides. That was the problem. Rebecca makes all this great effort, and numpty host here just goes to slide 1. Sorry, Rebecca, and here I am thanking the team, and here we go. Of course, it's there. Like, don't trust me. This team are awesome, and I just mess it up. So, oh, hang on, I'm going the wrong way with my slides now. Let's see. Okay, so next week conservation beyond the garden gate, and we have wonderful speakers. I don't know if you've heard of Emma Cutting from the Heart Gardening Project and the Melbourne Pollination Corridor Project, and we have Alex Wall from the National University and the Veggie Map Project. So that's going to be another fantastic webinar. Thank you all once again for being a part of our webinar. To everyone who's contributed with lots of comments. Thank you, Bo. Thank you, Jamie. Lots of love coming in for the three of you, everyone. I'll just bring it back to our main to our speakers. Let me take this off. So, Renate,
we would like to thank you for inviting us as well. It's been such a lovely chat and such a great opportunity for us young trainees to talk to you tonight. So thank you for inviting us.
Yes, thank you.
That's an absolute pleasure, Jade and Blake and Renate. Thanks again. And everyone, feel free to continue to share the conversation here in the comments. Share the broadcast so more people can see it and get it out there. And we will see you all again next week. Thank you, John, Giovanni, Austin, Bo, lots of you, Natalia, Maddie. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. And I'll see you all next week. Bye for now.
Thank you all.
Thanks. See ya.
Bye.
See ya.
Thank you. Yeah.